Good morning. My name is Danielle, and I am the Community Engagement Specialist here at the Turning Point Rape Crisis Center. I apologize if my voice sounds a little crackly. I got some water here, but it has been going in and out. So just bear with me. It usually doesn't sound like this. But today we are doing the fourth week of our 5-week Powerful Men series, which goes into men in power who have abused their power to perpetuate sexual violence and exert control over women. And so today we are going to be talking about Bill Cosby. Now, I feel like there's not a single person who hasn't heard the story of Bill Cosby and his downfall. So today we are going to be touching on the criminal base of it. And then whenever we have tomorrow's film Friday at 2:30 p.m., we're going to be watching a documentary about Bill Cosby, and that one amplifies survivors' voices. They share their story, so make sure to tune in to Film Friday tomorrow at 2:30 to see Bill Cosby's documentary. But today we're going to be getting into the criminal side. And also, I want to note that it is a lot of information because this is something that he did for over 20 years and had a lot of survivors. So we are going to try and break it down as much as possible. We're not getting into individual survivors, but survivors' voices will be amplified on Film Friday in the documentary. So make sure to check that one out as well. It was a lot of information. We would have been here all day because he perpetuated sexual violence on so many women. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is our presentation. It takes unity. It's a bystander's guide on being empowered and educated, because once we're educated about the problem, we can be the change to fix it and support survivors along the way. Here at the Turning Point, we have a 24-hour crisis hotline, which is 1-800-886-7273, and you can call that number at any time, and there will be an advocate on the line who can answer any questions you have revolving around sexual violence and getting involved with counseling and also setting up a SANE exam. So that goes into the 3 things that we offer. So number 1 thing we offer is counseling. We offer free counseling for survivors of sexual violence and their friends and family members. Then we also do advocacy, which is where we go into the hospital and support survivors during their sexual assault nurse examination. We provide them with resources, support, and get them set up with counseling if they wish to at that time. We're there to answer any questions and overall just support them during that SANE exam. And then lastly is this education, where we go into the community and different online platforms to spread awareness about sexual violence and its roots and causes so that you can be the change to fix it. Our mission. Our mission is to highlight the impact of sexual violence on individuals and our community through education programs that foster hope, encourage change, and prevent sexual violence. Join us in the fight against sexual violence. The Turning Point is committed to reducing the prevalence of sexual violence in our community. We firmly believe that for this change to occur, each person has a responsibility and must do their part to prevent sexual violence. So, powerful men. We are going to be talking about Bill Cosby today. His biological name is William Henry Cosby Jr. He was born July 12th of 1937, and he is an American stand-up comedian, actor, author, and convicted sex offender. Cosby began his career as a stand-up comedian at the Hungry i in San Francisco during the 1960s. He then landed a starring role in the television show I Spy, followed by his own sitcom, The Bill Cosby Show, which ran for 2 seasons from 1969 to 1971. In 1972, using the Fat Albert character developed during his stand-up routines, Cosby created, produced, and hosted the animated comedy television series Fat Albert and The Cosby Kids, which ran until 1985, centering on a group of young friends growing up in an urban area. So, the 1965 to 1996 allegations. Of the many allegations against Bill Cosby, the earliest date claimed was December of 1965. Christina Rulli. Oh, another thing. If this is your first Empowered Education, I am not good at last names. So bear with me if I say last names incorrectly or I skip them. So she accused Cosby of drugging and assaulting her in his Beverly Hills, California home during that time. Really alleged that at the time she told her boyfriend about the incident and also claimed that she later told her daughter about the alleged encounter in the 1980s. However, she did not speak about the incident in public until 2005 when she came forward in the Andrea Constand case as Jane Doe number 12. In the early 1980s, Joan Tarshis told freelance reporter John Millward about alleged sexual assault by Cosby. Millward did not write about the allegations. In 1996, Playboy playmate Victoria Valentino gave a videotaped interview in which she made sexual assault allegations against Cosby. The interview was conducted for an expose on the lives of Playboy models, which was never published. After the allegations resurfaced in 2014, Wendy Williams recalled that during her radio show in 1990, she referred to sexual assault allegations against Cosby that had been published in the National Enquirer tabloid, and Williams said Cosby called her boss in the middle of the broadcast demanding that Williams be fired. So, next, the later allegations and investigations from 2000 to 2006. So on February 1st of 2000, according to a statement provided by Detective Jose McCallan of the New York County District Attorney's Special Victims Bureau, Lachelle Covington, who was 20 years old at the time, filed a criminal complaint against Cosby, alleging that on January 28, 2000, at his Manhattan townhouse, he tried to put her hands down his pants and then exposed himself. Covington also alleged that Cosby grabbed her breasts and tried to put his hands down her pants. Cosby was questioned and insisted it was not true. The New York City Police Department referred her complaint to the DA, but they declined to prosecute. In January 2004, Andrea Constand, a former Temple University employee, accused Cosby of drugging and fondling her. However, in February 2005, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania's district attorney said that there would be no charges due to insufficient, credible, and admissible evidence. Constand then filed a civil claim in March of 2005 with 13 women as potential witnesses if the case went to court. Cosby settled out of court for an undisclosed amount in November 2006. After learning the charges were not pursued in the Constand case, California lawyer Tamara Lucier Green, the only publicly named woman in the prior case, came forward with allegations in February 2005 that Cosby had drugged and assaulted her in the 1970s. Cosby's lawyer said that Cosby did not know her and that the events did not happen. So, again, in more allegations and investigations. So in July 2005, Philadelphia Daily News interviewed Beth Vieira, one of the anonymous Jane Doe witnesses in the Constand case, alleged that in 1984, Cosby had drugged her coffee and she awoke with her clothes partially removed. In 2005, Sean Upson Brown, a woman with whom Cosby admitted to having an extramarital affair in the 1970s, claimed in the National Enquirer that Cosby drugged and raped her the last time the two were together sexually. Brown is the mother of Autumn Jackson, who claimed to be Cosby's illegitimate daughter. Jackson was convicted in 1997 of extortion when she threatened to make the claims public in the Globe tabloid. In 2005, Brown went into more detail with her renewed allegations in an interview. On June 9, 2006, Philadelphia Magazine published an article by Robert Huber who gave graphic detail about Constand's allegations and the similar stories by Green and Ferrer about how they stated that they too were drugged and sexually assaulted. With these severe allegations against Cosby, Huber wrote, his lawyers have gotten it pushed to the back burner, down to a simmer, and maybe it will amount to nothing, yet there's also a possibility that it will bubble up to destroy him. The article was titled Dr. Huxtable and Mr. Hyde, an allusion to both Cosby's character, Dr. Cliff Huxtable on The Cosby Show, and a person having two starkly distinct Jekyll and Hyde personalities. This article also presented Barbara Bauman, who had come forward after having read about Constance's story, saying she could not sit in silence any longer. Details of Bauman's similar drug and sexual assault allegations were published in the magazine's November 1st, 2006 issue. Bowman reported two incidents that happened around early 1986, wherein she was 18 years old and working as an inspiring model and actress after her agent had introduced her to Cosby, and he had become her good friend and mentor, saying that she escaped his attacks and returned home to Denver, and Cosby thereafter subverted her career. Burris remarks on October of 2014. So on October 16th of 2014, as a part of a stand-up comedy routine in Philadelphia, Hannibal Buress addressed Cosby's legacy of talking down to young Black men about their mode of dress and lifestyle. Buress criticized the actor's public moralizing by saying, "Yeah, but you raped women, Bill Cosby, so that kind of brings you down a couple notches." The audience appeared to respond to Burris's accusations as an incredulous joke. Then he encouraged everyone to search Bill Cosby rape on Google when they got home. Burris had been using the same Cosby routine for the previous 6 months with little response, but word of the October performance spread rapidly after being posted on Philadelphia's magazine website. Media coverage intensified, with the numerous publications tackling the question of how Cosby had managed to maintain, as Burris called it in his routine, a Teflon image, despite more than a decade of public sexual abuse accusations. Shortly afterwards, USA Today reported that either Cosby or his representative posted a request for Twitter followers to go ahead and meme me. The tweet was deleted after a large number of submitted memes made reference to the accusations against Cosby. So here we have a fellow comedian coming forward and making it a part of his set to spread awareness about Bill Cosby's legacy of sexually assaulting women and bringing that awareness to his shows to be able to educate the crowd about Bill Cosby. And in turn, he had done it for 6 months before it took off. And so a lot of times when you're spreading awareness about something, you may see, oh, well, people don't really care about this, or they're not really listening. But if you stick with it, people will listen, and it can end up starting a movement. So, additional assault allegations. After Burris's remarks came to the attention of journalist Joan Tarshis in November 2004, model Janice Dickinson, actress Louisa Mortiz, actor Lou Ferrigno's wife Carla, Florida nurse Therese I'm not saying that, I don't know how to say that, Playboy Playmates Valentino, and Sarita Butterfield, actress Michelle Hurd, and 11 other women also made accusations of alleged assaults by Cosby committed against them between 1965 and 2004. Charlotte Laws wrote a November 2014 article published by Salon accusing Cosby of assaulting a friend of hers with whom she had subsequently lost contact. The following month, in a Vanity Fair article, model Beverly Johnson alleged she was drugged by Cosby during a 1986 audition and that she knew other women had similar accounts. Cosby's attorney said Dickinson's account differed from prior accounts she had given of the incident and released a statement that said, in part, Mr. Cosby does not intend to dignify these allegations with any comment. A follow-up statement dismissed the allegations as I can't say that. I'm tongue twisting today, and as an example of media vilification. So a joint statement from Cosby and Constand, who had received a civil statement in 2006, clarified the statement released a few days prior by stating that it did not refer to Constand's case, which was resolved years ago. So additional assault allegations. So in January of 2015, Sandra Laud alleged that Cosby drugged and sexually assaulted her in 1969. In May 2015, Lily Bernard claimed that Cosby sexually assaulted her in early 1990s and that she had not been interviewed by police in Atlantic City, New Jersey regarding the allegation because of the state of New Jersey had no statute of limitations for rape. Bernard hoped charges would be brought, but media reports noted it wasn't clear if what Bernard says happened to her happened in New Jersey. On July 27th of 2015, New York magazines featured images of 35 women sitting in chairs with the last chair empty, suggesting there may be more victims who have not come forward yet. The 35 women told their stories about being sexually assaulted by Cosby in the culture that wouldn't listen. 11 other women known to New York who alleged. Let me take a drink of water. Known to New York who alleged sexual assault by Cosby declined to be photographed and interviewed for the feature. According to Vox, the stories span more than 5 decades and are remarkably similar, typically involving the comedian offering a woman a cup of coffee or some sort of alcoholic beverage, which may be spiked with drugs, and allegedly sexually assaulting the victim as she's impaired or unconscious. On September 17, 2015, A&E broadcast the documentary Cosby, The Women Speak, a program in which 13 alleged victims were interviewed. By October 24th, nearly 60 women had claimed they were sexually abused by Cosby, and the terms sociopath and serial rapist were used to describe him. Jewel Allison, one of Cosby's accusers, described him as a sociopath and stated, "We may be looking at America's greatest serial rapist that ever got away with this for the longest amount of time. He got away with it because he was hiding it behind the image of Cliff Huxtable." And by Cliff Huxtable, they mean the character he played on Bill Cosby's show, who was like a dad to all. He had a very family-friendly image, and in the African American community and in TV, they were the perfect family. And so, in turn, it made you feel as though he was a perfect dad or a perfect husband, like he played on the television show, because the television show was named after him, even though the character's name wasn't his name. So, now we're getting into criminal investigations. So, unsealing the Constant and Cosby deposition. So on July 8th, 2015, Constant and her attorney, Dolores Troneni, filed a motion to negate the confidentiality agreement in the 2005 case against Cosby, claiming Cosby had already engaged in total abandonment of the confidentiality portions of the agreement by way of the recent sweeping denials of all allegations against him. A judge ruled that releasing the sealed documents was justified by Cosby's role as a public moralist, in contrast to his possible criminal private behavior. Although some of the files from Constant's case had been unsealed, the transcript of Cosby's several depositions was not among them. Instead, the New York Times had been able to obtain the complete complete deposition from a court reporting service that had been hired by Constant's attorney and released document to the general public. After it was discovered that the transcript of the deposition had been released, Cosby's lawyers filed a new motion in the case on July 21st of 2015, asserting that Constant and Troney may have orchestrated the release. So unsealing of Constant and Cosby deposition continued. In the court filing condemning the release of the deposition, Cosby's attorney stressed that none of the testimony that was actually unsealed by a judge stated that he engaged in non-consensual sex or gave anyone Kool-Aids without their knowledge or consent. Reading the media accounts, one would conclude that the defendant has admitted to rape. The document said, and yet the defendant admitted nothing more than being one of the many people who introduced Kool-Aids to their consensual sex life in the 1970s. So Quaaludes, I don't know how to say that word, but it was a drug that was used to make her um, um, unresponsive to be able to perpetuate sexual violence against her. Um, so Cosby's lawyers further contended that a court reporting service hired by Constant had released the 2005 court transcript to the Times days later in a massive breach of protocol. The court reporter's code of ethics prohibits the release of testimony without all parties first being contacted. In the deposition, Cosby denied any sexual assault of any woman, but admitted he used sedatives to help gain their cooperation. He testified that he had obtained Quaaludes from gynecologist Leroy Amar, who knew Cosby had no intention of taking the drugs himself. Cosby instead intended to give them to women he wanted to have sexual relations with, and admitted he had given the drug to at least one woman and other people. Cosby admitted knowing it was illegal at the time to dispense the drug to other people. Amar would later have his medical license revoked in California and New York State. He died in 2002. So Cosby had gotten these drugs from a doctor who knew that he had no intention to use it for himself, and Cosby would then use these drugs to drug women with their drinks and different things like that, to render them into a position to where he would be able to sexually assault. So, his 2015 criminal charges. On December 30th of 2015 in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, Cosby was charged with 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault on Constant as a result of a single incident alleged to have occurred in his home in Chitleham Township on an unspecified date between mid-January and mid-February 2004, referred to by media coverage as January 2004, according to the very detailed arrest warrant filed on December 15, 2015. These were the first criminal charges as a result of sexual assault allegations that had been made by many women against Cosby. Cosby was arraigned that afternoon without entering a plea. His bail was set at $1 million. Cosby surrendered his passport, posted bond, and was escorted to the Chitleham Township Police Station to be booked, fingerprinted, and photographed for a mugshot. The charges were based on Constant's statement to police of unwanted sexual contact, though not intercourse, in early 2004 that had been first reported to the Durham Regional Police Service near Constant's home in southern Ontario, Canada, on January 13, 2005. The report was forwarded to authorities in Pennsylvania. So on February 17th of 2005, the then District Attorney Bruce Castor had released a statement that charges would not be laid at that time. So Constant launched a civil lawsuit against Cosby in 2005, which was settled by the defendant in 2006 on a confidential basis. Some of the testimony from that case was unsealed in July of 2015 based on details revealed in this testimony, along with new interviews with certain witnesses. New elected District Attorney Kevin Steele decided to file charges on December 30th, 2015. The criminal court documents allege that blue pills said to be Benadryl by Cosby were given to Constant, who had been drinking wine during the January 2004 incident. Cosby's attorney issued a statement saying, "We intend to mount a vigorous defense against this unjustified charge, and we expect that Mr. Cosby will be exonerated by the court of law." Cosby's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the sexual assault charges in January 2016, stating that Castor's office had promised in 2005 that Cosby would not be persecuted. And in testimony involving Cosby's motion to dismiss the charges, Castor defended his decision to not bring charges, citing, among other things, Constant's year-long delay in reporting the allegations, her continued contact with Cosby, and suggesting that she and her mother might have tried to extort the TV star. On February 3rd of 2016, Judge Stephen O'Neill ruled there was no basis to determine the case based on Cosby's assertions. Cosby's legal team sought an appeal before the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. On April 25th of 2016, the Superior Court refused to hear Cosby's appeal from the denial of his motion to dismiss the charges, lifted by a temporary stay of the pretrial hearing, and sent the case back to the original court. On April 13, 2016, Cosby filed a motion with the Superior Court to reseal the deposition from the original Constant lawsuit. His lawyers made a similar request in federal court in Massachusetts earlier, but that motion was denied by Judge David Hennessy, who likened these efforts to putting the toothpaste back in the tube since Cosby's testimony had already been in the news for months. At the preliminary hearing on May 24th, a judge found that there was enough evidence to proceed with the trial despite the fact that Constant did not testify, which is allowed under Pennsylvania law. He set a pretrial hearing for September 6th. Cosby appealed this decision based upon the belief that his legal team had the right to cross-examine the accuser. He lost his appeal on October 12th. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court announced it would review the state law in a separate case, to which Cosby's lead attorney, Brian McMonagle, said that he would try to add Cosby's case in hopes of having it thrown out. On September 6, 2016, Judge Steve O'Neill set trial for June 6th of 2017, and on April 12, 2017, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court declined to hear Cosby's appeal to question Constant before the trial. Cosby had faced a maximum of 15 to 30 years in prison if found guilty on all three counts of a fine up to $25,000. His trial started on June 5th of 2017 and ended in mistrial on June 17th. So, on April 26th of 2018, a jury found Bill Cosby guilty of 3 felony counts of aggravated indecent sexual assault against aggravated indecent assault against Constant. The Montgomery County District Attorney, Kevin Steele, asked at this point that Cosby $1 million bail be revoked, suggesting that he owned a private plane and could flee. This prompted an angry outburst from Cosby, who shouted, "He doesn't have a plane, you bleep." Cosby was ultimately not ruled a flight risk. On September 25th, Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. He was also ordered to pay the cost of the prosecution against him, $43,000. $43,611, as well as a $25,000 fine. On that day, he was placed in the Montgomery County Correctional Facility in Eagleville, Pennsylvania, and moved to the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, SCI, Phoenix, in Skipack Township hours afterwards. And then he appealed. So Cosby appealed from his conviction, asserting 11 errors in the trial. He argued that the admission of the testimony of 5 prior bad act witnesses was improper, and that these witnesses' testimony was too remote in time and too dissimilar to the charges in the trial to be admitted under the rules of evidence. However, on December 10th, 2019, Cosby's conviction was upheld by a unanimous 3-judge panel in the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, the state's intermediate appellate court. In a 94-page opinion, the court held that the trial court had properly admitted the testimony of 5 of the 19 women sought by prosecutors, determining that their testimony suggested a distinct signature pattern in Cosby's unique sexual assault playbook. Cosby is pursuing a further appeal in Pennsylvania Supreme Court. On June 23, 2020, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled Cosby would be able to appeal his sexual assault conviction based upon questions on testimony from a witness being more prejudicial than probative. The court will hear his appeal on arguments of it were proper for 5 prosecution witnesses to testify in the case and include a deposition that Cosby admitted to having given quaaludes to other women in the past. The court also agreed to review if a former prosecutor informing Cosby that he would not be prosecuted for the assault, and this resulting in Cosby agreeing to testify to his accuser's civil lawsuit. So this was a lot of information. So I hope that you learned a lot. This was a long history of sexual assault, of perpetuating sexual assault on women, women trying to come forward, them being silenced, their careers being taken from them. It had a lot of parallels to Harvey Weinstein in the sense of if you don't do this, then Harvey Weinstein was more coercion, while Bill Cosby was more just drugged sexual assault. But if women came forward, they were under the threat of losing their careers, losing their life's work because he was so powerful in the industry. So if you want to be able to hear the survivors' stories and their voices, make sure to tune in tomorrow for our Film Friday at 2:30, and I'll see you there. Bye.